again, growing up with Asian culture, you watch all the K-drama, the C-drama, you're like, well, the man is supposed to be bleep, 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 right? But of course, I know that was not kingdom, and that's not biblical either. So I think trying to adjust, but I think definitely I was heavy on the maybe over spiritualized, romanticized expectations, which, when you are having an intercultural marriage and then finding out maybe your spouse have neurodivergence is a hard reality to bring together, I think. Yeah, so.
对，挑战您的价值观，返璞归真过生活。欢迎收看《10万个为什么》，我是你的好朋友路德。在节目一开始提醒大家订阅我的频道，并打开小铃铛，千万不要错过每周五的精彩节目哦。我们上一次讲到这个沟通哈，真的是需要很多的智慧，不管是时间、地点、沟通的方式、沟通的主题，都需要选择，需要有智慧。那今天呢，我们就是要讲到在婚姻中的期待。我不知道你在刚结婚的时候，你对婚姻有什么样的期待？
So yeah, I think my expectations was a little bit overly romanticized spiritually, right? Like you think, oh, you get married and we do all these things for God, and and obviously, those are all great, but for me, I didn't really think more some of the details. And I think my husband and I connected a lot on vision, like spiritual things, right? Like this is our heart for God, these are the people we'll serve, this is the type of family we want to build biblically, or these things or different things. And they're all good, but I think then when we got married, like how to actually do that, the actual doing it, because of, whether it's the intercultural marriage, right? And now looking back, obviously with the ADD and then different things, whether it's personality or even personal histories or struggles, different things. And I think even in Christian marriages, I think it's just hard to share honestly about things that you really face. And not to say that there are, every marriage is like mine or whatever. Of course, there are a lot of people who do live out their dream of, they get married and they do go do missions abroad and everything is great and they don't have any communication problem or anything like that. But I think for us, for me, I think it was quite hard because I feel like, wow, we did have a dream, and even personally, and I think even together. But then when we got married, it's like the reality was we were like here in our relationship in terms of communication, right? In terms of
家务
just understanding, roles and responsibility, different things.
财务
Yeah, 财务, I mean, everything. I think marriage is so many aspects, right? Physically, emotionally connecting, which is also communication, right? Expectations.
刚开始的时候，或者婚前，或者刚结婚的时候，我们的期待，我都不觉得那个期待是很高的期待，对吧？我就是期待我就是负责做家务，家里的事，这个房子里面的事情我来负责。那你呢，就去院子的事情是你来负责就是割草啊，或者是垃圾倒垃圾或者修一些东西，对不对？
Right.
就是你来负责。就是我就觉得这很正常嘛，这不是什么很高的期待对，结果后来就发现，怎么会买了房子以后，很多的东西都是我在修呢？就是好像他没有这种主动想要去做，OK，那我又不想一直去给他任务，所以我就自己做了 ，OK。那后来我就有失望啊，我就觉得，明明说好的修补的事情是你的事情院子的事情是你的事情怎么后来都变成了我的事情了 ，OK，对，所以我就会觉得，难道是我的期待有问题吗？明明我的期待也是很正常的期待啊，对，当然后来就也是发现这个神经多样性，这些人他们确实会有一个拖延的现象，拖延就是总是要 last minute 才会去做，
非
OK
常
他如果不是很紧急的事情，他就会觉得那个可以等的。我刚开始也觉得这是他的不够负责任，或者是懒惰。那后来发现呢，就是说神经多样性的人呢，他们在他们眼中没有什么事情是更重要。OK，对他们来说，所有都是 equal， 都是一样的。我们有一个 priority，OK，我们觉得这个比较重要，先做，然后再做这个不太重要的，我们有一个次序。但对他们来说，看电视和割草是同样重要的。他不觉得说你割草比较重要，看电视就不重要，对吧？所以就是他们，而且他们没有一个时间的概念，就是我们有一个 future 的概念，有一个未来的概念。我今天做这个，明天做那个，后天做这个，这个月做这个，下个月做，我们会有一个时间的。对他来说，就是如果现在不做，可能永远都不会做了。
Yeah, 这个 actually
now or never.
Yeah, I think that's something that I realized too through learning about ADDs. They call it executive function. Executive function is the ability to kind of plan and execute, right? Like if you have a problem, well, you plan to fix this. This is when you do it, how you do it, right? All of that. Actually, that is a very hard thing for ADD, you know, people with that neurodivergent condition. And I think that was, yeah, it's the same as you. I remember, man, I had so many arguments with my husband because he always did things last minute. And it would drive me crazy. Because, yeah, I like to plan. I remember the very first time we had the argument was when we were dating. Because we were dating long distance, he was going to come see me. And I think he had to buy like some train ticket or something. And it was literally, I think, less than a week when we were supposed to meet. So I asked him, oh, have you gotten your ticket yet? He's like, no. I was like, why? Like, why have you, you know, or, or even like right now, you know, something in our bathroom needs fixing, you know, and I'm always thinking, okay, when do we need to buy? And so I think this is some of the mental load that is hard for the spouses of people who have ADD or other types of neurodivergence, is that you end up taking a lot of the mental burden of planning or thinking, well, we need to do this, we need to do that, I need to keep a list. And yeah, I think it's hard. Yeah, I cannot say I have quite found the solution, the answer yet. But I think, it's something that I think the spouses of ADD, you know, really need to pay attention, because it can be very exhausting and draining. And of course, it creates, you know, conflict in the marriage, but more importantly, for our own well-being, it can be very, it can be very exhausting. So
对，我学到的一个方法就是让他们用，现在其实手机上面有很多的 app， 其实可以帮助他记得这些事情。就是 set reminder， 让他自己去设，自己去，他有他的方式，他的 calendar 或者什么，有的是要写下来，写在冰箱上或者写在什么地方，他自己要有一个 system 去记得他的一些 task。我觉得还有一点就是我们可以做的就是要放手。割草，他如果真的不割，那就不割吧，那也不会有什么特别大的问题。OK，就是那个草长得有点高，有点丑而已嘛，也不会说真的就有什么很大的 consequence，所以就是让他也有一个自由去决定他什么时候去做，因为不然的话他就会永远觉得好像一直在压力的底下。OK， 我好像一个 supervisor， 一个监工一样看着他，你有没有做，什么时候做，他就会觉得压力很大。那当他觉得压力大的时候，他就更不想做。所以我觉得我们其实作为妻子也是要鼓励他们，就是怎么样让他自动的去做， enjoy 的去做。那可能有一个很大的我们不能做的就是唠叨。但是 again， 就我们今天讲期待嘛，我就觉得说刚开始的时候我真的觉得这些期待都是很正常的，但是没有想到这些事情对ADHD 的人来说是这么难。我还想到一个，就是我们小的时候，我不知道你在香港或者在加拿大， 我们在中国呢，我们都会教小孩子要专心做事情，不能一心两用。OK， 你不能边看电视边做作业，你不能这样。但是我先生他是一定要一心两用。比方说他的工作上的一个考试或者是一个学习，他在电脑上做题，然后他一边还要看电影的。刚开始我真的很难理解，我就说哇，这个是一个坏习惯，you know bad habit。你这样子很没有效率啊，你做题可能也会做错，或者看电影你也没有 follow 啊，你就是好像一直在分心。但是 somehow 对他这样子 ADHD。他的注意力就是因为他注意力不集中，所以他需要很多的刺激，让他来集中精力。所以我真的觉得哇，还有这样子的。我在做事情的时候，我是不能够有电视或者什么，我需要很安静，我需要很专心。但是对他来说，他一定需要这些 noise。
I totally can relate.
所以你
because it's the same. Yeah, because well, at first, I think just in general, I feel like I'm like you. If I want to do some work, I want to be quiet, I want to be focused. But for him, it's like, oftentimes, even right now, it's exactly the same as you said. He's doing some stuff, his work on the computer, but he has like something on TV or, and I'm like, oh gosh, it's so noisy. Like, how can you work like that? So I think, definitely the neurodivergence is definitely something that I'm still trying to figure out, because trying to learn and understand is how that because they always need that dopamine, that stimulation, in order for them to be able to do something. And so I think if something maybe that's boring, like doing on the computer, then they need some other stimulation, that is the dopamine, to help them to motivate them essentially to do the work. So I think definitely I've come to just let him, okay, it's like, then how, if that's how he works, that's fine. But, that's definitely not how, I work.
那你的小孩怎么办？
So so that's the thing that I think is tricky too, and I'm learning as I am learning about my kids, is because, there are things that they need to be able to do in school, and and currently they don't have a lot of focus issues in terms of in school, but definitely I think learning that, okay, if they do have some neurodivergence, needs like ADD or maybe high autism, high functioning autism, then how do you help parent that? So I think actually it's through understanding my husband's condition, but then also it's actually through learning for how to help my kids, or how to raise them, to help them to succeed and be still functioning, but also I think confident in who God made them. I think that's something that I'm realizing, that because neurodivergent and neurotypical is not better or worse, it's just different. But obviously, especially in Asian culture, right? You're like, oh, you have like what? You have ADD, like, oh, something is wrong with you. And I remember when I was in, I didn't grow up in church, but when I was in university, I was at a church, and there was one child, I'm pretty sure he has ADD, but I don't think his mom knew. But he would run around like crazy in the sanctuary, and everybody in the church talked about him. Like, oh, he's like the crazy kid, who's always running, never sits down. And I think he, I don't know if his mom knows now, but he's an adult now. But, I think about that, and I think, man, I don't want my kids to feel that. Like with, not just with church, but with God. Like God didn't make a mistake when he made them. So I think it's definitely something I'm learning. And I think through this process too of, learning about expectations, going back to our topic today, is, I think aside from the over romanticized, spiritualized part, I think too, when you talk about the letting go, the control, right? I think it has come to bring attention to my own healing too, of like, I don't think what we expect is wrong, but I think sometimes for myself growing up, I had to be responsible very early, right? Very often for first child in Asian culture. And then my dad passed away when I was younger, so I had to take care of my mom, right? I think all these things made me very sensitive to have to be in control, to have to make sure I take care of things, right? So in terms of my own healing, I realized, okay, well, that's not what God wants for me too. Like he doesn't want me to have to feel like I always have to be responsible, I always have to take control. So I think obviously, even though it's not ideal, this situation of like, well, it's really hard with the ADD spouse, and then, you know, and then my personality seems to fit in the wrong way. But I think in my own upbringing and the wounds, I think God wants to bring healing to me too. I think learning to let go is learning to trust God, to be free, to be a child myself, and to know, oh, it's okay. I don't have to be responsible all the time. You know, from my own upbringing. But I think culturally, we were expected to do that, you know, from us. So in some ways, that expectations also, we have learned to put that, I mean, reasonably on our spouse, because everybody do have to be responsible for themselves as adults. But I think a little bit of it for myself, I've come to see, oh, maybe this is also God's way to bring healing to me, even though it's not, you know, the best kind of ways to learn this. But of course, as believers, we believe God work all things for our good. So even though this is maybe a learning and a challenge in the marriage, I think God is, I believe at least, you know, that he is bringing good to us, even as we learn, and to our spouse and our family. So
我觉得就是这个关键词就是接纳，接纳就是我觉得我以前我以为我还挺能接纳不同的人，you know， 黑人、白人，什么人我都可以接纳，但是我真的进到婚姻以后，我就觉得哇。真的，其实接纳你自己的伴侣，接纳一个跟你不一样的人是这么难。对，就是说，很多时候我们有我们自己的骄傲，我们觉得我们的方式是好的，我们是更好的。you know， 我做功课的方式比你做功课的方式更有效率。OK， 所以你应该像我这样子做。但是后来我发现。真的是就是每个人神造每个人都是不一样，就是他真的是 diversity，每一个人都很独特，所以就是我必须要去学习他跟我不一样，我就接纳他跟我不一样，It's okay， 他跟我不一样，他不需要像我一样，然后我不需要像他一样，就是我觉得就是学习接纳跟尊重，OK， 尊重这个差异，当然这个过程是很痛苦的，因为我们就很不喜欢。跟我们不一样的，不应该说，就像你喝这个咖啡，这个味道是你很不习惯的，你从来没有喝过，来，不是这个咖啡不好，而是你不习惯，所以你喝的时候你就觉得很难受，但是也许你一直喝，你就会喜欢，或者是你就习惯了，所以我想可能真的就是我们现在在经历的就是还在一个适应的阶段，就是他们的神经系统跟我们不一样，那我们怎么去接纳，怎么去习惯他们的想法，他们的思维，然后就是尊重他们做事的方式。耶稣他来到地上，看到我们地上的这些人，在圣经里面写的这些门徒，其实很多也是跟耶稣很不一样的人，就是应该说没有一个是跟像耶稣一样的人，OK， 然后耶稣的想法跟他们的想法全部都不一样，所以他上十字架。他的门徒全部都跑掉了，因为他们不理解耶稣是为什么会这样子，为什么会上十字架，为什么神你会上十字架，对不对？所以但是耶稣是接纳他们，而且是跟他们住在一起，然后爱他们，所以我有时候也是在想，可能神把这么不一样的先生放在我们的生活当中，也是让我们学习像耶稣，就像他一样去接纳跟我们不一样的人，对。当然这个过程 again 就是很难，
对。
好的，那我很高兴刚才 Sammy 有提到一点就是文化，所以我们下一期节目呢，我们会专门来讲就是为什么有很多的中美的这种婚姻 好多都是这个神经多样性婚姻，就是为什么会这样子？好，我们下一期我们专门要来探讨这个话题。